Greetings, dear viewer. Welcome back to the Twisted Knightmare Studio. Today I'm going to be doing a twisted take on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The movie starts out assaulting you with lots and lots of chocolate and a lively tune to watch the credits to. School lets out and children run away like any good kids would do when school releases. Many of them run to the local candy shop and seem to get a lot of free candy. It almost seems like a poor business model to just give candy away. Then he starts to get a little too touchy-feely. Anyone check this guy's creds? Stranger danger, stranger danger. Then he just lets the kids into the back to grab as much as they want from anything. It's madness. Then you see poor Charlie Bucket standing outside there looking jealous. And I wonder, why doesn't he just go in there? Hell, the guy's throwing candy out indiscriminately. He was sure to get something. But no, he has to go to his job as a paper delivery boy. Apparently, he makes a pittance because whatever Mr. Joe Peck gave him certainly wasn't much. He rushes to make his deliveries, and after he finishes, he lingers outside the mysterious Wonka factory. From outside, it almost looks menacing. Then a man who is walking with a cart full of menacing objects spouts a bit of gibberish before walking away. Then Charlie rushes home. Before he gets there, we get to meet his family as they dump exposition about the situation. Charlie's father's dead and the 4 grandparents have been bedridden for the last 20 years. And as someone who's been a caregiver, who is taking care of their bathroom needs? That place must smell rank. Not to mention the bed sores. This movie raises a lot of questions. When Charlie comes home, he reveals that he bought food for the family since apparently all they have been eating is cabbage water. Ugh. When he shows that he got a loaf of bread, his mother questions where he got it. I love how Grandpa Joe just says, "Don't question how he got it. Grandpa Joe's done some shady things in his life. When Charlie gives most of the money to his mother and then offers money to Grandpa Joe to buy his tobacco, Joe refuses. He doesn't feel right getting tobacco when they cannot afford food. Strange. You just now came to this revelation? Why did it take you so long? Oh, right, the cameras were rolling. I forgot. Okay, well, anyways, at last he finally takes it. And then flash to later that night, Joe and Charlie are burning the midnight oil and talking as Charlie recounts the interaction with the strange old man outside of the factory. That's when Joe tells Charlie a bit about why Willy Wonka locked his gates. People were sending in spies, and apparently back then, corporate espionage wasn't a thing that could get companies into trouble. So he shut himself down. He also tells Charlie about Slugworth. He said that Wonka closed the factories down 3 years before candy started being made again. The mystery still remains, though. If there are no more workers, who runs the factory? Another day, Charlie's in school, with a teacher who's a bit presumptuous and rude. A racket out in the hall draws the teacher's attention before anyone else's. A boy tells him that Willy Wonka has just announced that he's opened up the factory for only 5 people who find golden tickets in Willy Wonka bars. The entire class rushes out, but poor Charlie. Knowing he has no money for bars, he takes his time to leave. So sad. Later that evening, Charlie and his family are watching a news report about the situation, and Joe encourages Charlie to look for them. Then we get a montage of people going absolutely crazy for Wonka bars. Once upon a time, I would have thought this kind of hysteria would be a fallacy. But 2020 told us that people can go a bit nuts. A moment of silence for the toilet paper shortage of that devastating year. The montage ends with a news report of the first ticket being found in Germany. Augustus Gloop and his family are very clearly a gluttonous family, and Augustus focused solely on his hunger. As the news reporter talks to the mother, a mysterious figure whispers in young Augustus's ear while he puts food onto his plate. Next, we are with Charlie and his family, and it's his birthday. Aww. They get him a Wonka bar. Grandpa Joe tells him he's gonna find it, and the mother tells him not to raise the boy's hopes. Party pooper. When he opens it up, there's nothing there. And just like Charlie would do, he offers his gifted bar of chocolate to his family. We pan to table after table, seeing people unwrap Wonka bars. A spoiled voice whines about how she wanted to be the first one to find one. A sycophantic father begs for her patience, but she doesn't have any. He offers an extra pound to the worker that finds the golden ticket. Even then, it doesn't calm down Veruca, and she talks to her father in a way that if I tried talking to my father that way, I would never need to see a dentist again because I would have lost all of my teeth. When one of the workers finds it, she celebrates loudly, and the spoiled brat gets what she wants. Just as she gets it, the mysterious man who talked to Augustus earlier gets to her and whispers suspiciously in her ear. Another montage reveals it's been a month and a half, and only 2 of the tickets have been found. Shelves are empty, and new shipments are arriving under armed guard. A man even invents a computer to tell him where to find the tickets, though the computer decides to tell him to get lost. And the 3rd ticket is found by a card dealer and his gum-chewing daughter, Violet Beauregard. During the news report, her father keeps trying to hawk his dealership, and when he does, the mysterious man appears behind her and whispers in her ear. One night, Charlie visits his mother while she's at work in an effort to walk her home. But it turns out she's going to be working late. They have a little time to talk, and Charlie tells her that they found another ticket. He then pitches a bit of a fit, telling his mother that there's no way he's going to find a ticket. It's not going to be him. She tries to comfort him by telling him that there are 100 billion people on the planet. I'm not sure where she's getting her number. As of right now, I think we haven't even hit 8. But she tells him that there are only 5 tickets out there and only 5 people are going to win. Fast forward, and the 4th ticket has been found by a kid who is glued to the TV. Back then, that might have been a shocking thing. Today, hell, most adults are glued to a screen of some sort, so this isn't anything new. The man with the microphone during the interview is the same mysterious man, and he waits for an opportunity to lean over and whisper into Mike TV's ear in front of the camera. I swear, he keeps doing things in front of cameras. He's the worst spy ever. A news reporter has a very quiet mental breakdown on camera as he talks about how there's only 1 ticket left, and when that ticket is found, there will have to be something else to focus on, more than just the tickets. Though we can't think of anything more important right now. It's kind of funny, actually, how deadpan the man does his performance. Grandpa Joe and Charlie are talking late one night, and Joe pulls out a secret candy bar from under his ass that raises several questions. First, who bought the chocolate bar? And secondly, and most importantly, how has the bar not melted under his hot, sweaty ass? Charlie lightly chides Joe for using his tobacco money to buy the bar, and together they open it with the hope that they have a golden ticket. But alas, they do not. Charlie tries to look on the bright side, and the two embrace. Turns out that the craziness continues to the point where the last box of Wonka bars left in the entire United Kingdom ends up with Queen Elizabeth showing up in her quickest cameo ever. Seriously, it's a keep your eyes open and you'll still never see her cameo. A news report comes on claiming that the last ticket has been found, though they don't show the person on camera. The Bucket family talks quietly about how Charlie's going to be devastated when he finds out there are no more tickets, but he lies in bed, wide awake, already aware and in tears. After school one day, he spots a bit of money in a drain and grabs it. He goes into a candy shop and asks for candy. The Candyman is suddenly much more concerned with payment than he was the other day. With the change, he decides to buy one more bar and walks from the shop. A group of people crowd around Mr. Joe Peck's newspaper stand. Curious, Charlie goes to check it out and finds out that the 5th ticket was actually faked. Shocked, he turns and walks away with a small smile as he opens the bar slowly, and he sees the golden ticket. His eyes light up and he smiles, and then a hand grabs him and drags him in front of a crowd, screaming about how he's found the golden ticket. And suddenly he is surrounded with people asking questions, others yelling to leave him alone, and finally Mr. Joe Peck grabs onto him and ushers him through the crowd before telling Charlie to run straight home without stopping. And as he's in a dark tunnel, the mysterious stranger who was so willing to talk business in front of all the cameras before suddenly does his shady dealings with Charlie far from the prying eyes of anyone else. This is where we find out what he's been telling all the ticket winners. He says that he is Arthur Slugworth, the president of the competitor of Wonka's. And I don't know this actor or anything he has been in, but he would make an excellent Nazi in another movie. He tells Charlie that he wants an everlasting gobstopper, that he will pay handsomely for it. The thing is, I wonder, for someone like Veruca Salt, money wouldn't be much of a motivator, so her father's spoils are rotten. So what would he have offered her that made it so tempting? As Charlie arrives home, announcing with excitement that he has a golden ticket, his family is completely confused. Joe reads it out loud. It says that Charlie will be able to bring a guest. And then the man who hasn't been outside of a bed in 20 years, Grandpa Joe, is suddenly walking. Apparently this doesn't exist in our reality because muscle atrophy just isn't a thing in this. He not only walks, he starts to sing and dance without becoming winded. Whatever they had in that cabbage water, clearly it's the elixir of life. After the song and dance is over, Charlie reveals that he ran into Slugworth to Joe. The next day is the big event. There's a lot of press and everyone is trying their best to get their shot in the limelight, except for Charlie, who is never actually shown interacting with the press. And at last the moment comes. The late, great Gene Wilder. And from what I heard, he agreed to take the part only if he could start out with the limp, because when he does his little flip, it tells the audience to expect nothing from him, that everything isn't what it appears at any point. And he pulls it off very well. When he gets them into the factory, he has the young kid sign a contract. The parents respond in different ways. Veruca's father tells Wonka she won't sign anything. He's told that if he doesn't sign it, they don't get in. Naturally, she shoves her father aside and signs it. Violet also signs it, but when her father tries to talk to Wonka, he rebuffs him in a way that makes me laugh. Then Grandpa Joe encourages Charlie to sign away. During the funhouse activities, I love how a child notices that the room is getting smaller while an adult makes the completely stupid statement that Wonka is getting bigger. When we get to see the chocolate room, it is my sweet tooth's dream. Here, the mystery of who worked in the factory is solved. Turns out there are little creatures called Oompa Loompas from Loompa Land. And Willy Wonka has been party to the biggest human smuggling operation in history. He smuggled an entire population to work as slaves in his factory. This guy is clearly unhinged. Somebody call someone. When the greedy gluttonous Augustus starts to drink from the chocolate river, he slips and falls in and gets sucked up into a pipe, where his fat gut gets stuck until enough pressure builds that he's shot up the pipe and sent off to be made into fudge. That's going to be some fatty chocolate. To celebrate the death of Augustus, the Oompa Loompas sing a song. When the nice song is out of the way, they go for a little cruise down the chocolate river. When a tunnel comes up, everyone gets a bit panicked and they start to see disturbing images. And Willy Wonka shows that he is truly unhinged. When they get back to reality, they see the inventing room, which looks more like a converted laundry room. This scene is awesome at showing just how bonkers Willy Wonka is. Something needs a little more time? Throw a clock in. Needs a little more kick? A pair of shoes will do just right. Too cold? Toss a jacket into the mix. Then he gets into his masterpiece, the coveted, everlasting gobstopper. He hands out one to each kid, and it becomes clear that Veruca fully intends on giving Slugworth what he wants. Even going as far as trying to get a second one by claiming that Violet has two. Not that that would be much of a surprise. The thing that comes out of the machine is definitely not what everlasting gobstoppers look like in real life. He hands one to each kid and then moves on to his next invention, a 3-course dinner in gum form. The gum-chewing Violet takes it and ignores Wonka's meek warnings. I really think he likes seeing these brats get their comeuppance. I approve. When the final course comes, Violet starts to turn blue, and then blows up. The father is let out screaming and enraged, blaming Wonka when it was his own daughter's decision to ignore the warning and chew the gum. To celebrate another child dying, naturally, the Oompa Loompas sing. Despite previous examples of what happens when you ignore the rules, Grandpa Joe convinces Charlie to try a drink that Willy Wonka himself expressly said not to try and said was not ready yet. I felt like he said that before. So they take a sip of this fizzy-lifting drink and are lifted into the fans and chopped into bits. I have to say, I'm amazed to see this happen this way. But it was a shocking and... Okay, they have a belching contest and get safely into the ground. But if they'd been the bad guys, the opposite would have happened. They rejoin the group, their escapades seemingly unnoticed by anyone else. They are shown these geese that lay golden eggs, and the spoiled wretch Veruca says that she wants one. When her father tries to offer Wonka money, he's surprised to find that Wonka isn't willing to sell. This causes Veruca to have a meltdown and is proven that she's a bad egg. Both her and her father are sent to a dumpster to be roasted alive. Another song to celebrate another death. The last demonstrated device makes absolutely no sense. It's a device that takes in a humongous bar of chocolate and teleports it across the room, making it smaller. My question is, why? That's like making a machine that can teleport $1,000, but by the time it gets out to the other end, it's only $1. What application are you going to have for something like that? Being obsessed with TV, Mike decides that he wants to be the first person to be sent by television. And he is. Shrunk to an itty-bitty person and unfortunately later crushed in his mother's purse on the way to the taffy room. His mother never recovered from the stroke that she was clearly having as they dragged her away. One final song to celebrate one final death. This only leaves Charlie and Grandpa Joe, and they think they're going to win but are quickly dismissed by Wonka. Completely confused, Joe goes in to confront Wonka about why they didn't win. His office is just as bizarre as the man. Turns out their activities with the fizzy lifting drinks weren't unnoticed, and were considered a violation. Grandpa Joe disagrees and gives Wonka a piece of his mind. Confused, Charlie decides to give back his everlasting gobstopper, and thus he passes the test. Wonka congratulates him, and turns out that Slugworth was actually a plant by Wonka to tempt all of the contestants, and Charlie was the only one not to be tempted. So Charlie not only gets a lifetime supply of chocolate, which just really isn't good for you, but also the entire factory, meaning that he and his family get to live happily ever after as wealthy industrialists. Huzzah! Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is a wonderful movie that I have enjoyed many times throughout the years. I have even watched it with my kids. Watching it now with my wife, I can't help but laugh at all of Gene Wilder's offhand comments. I cannot help but wonder how many of them he actually improvised.
Wait a minute, what's all that small print there at the bottom?
Oh, if you have any problems, dial information. Thank you for calling.
I have been asked to compare this video to the other movie, and perhaps one day I will. But for now, I'll just say that there's no comparison. The Johnny Depp movie is inferior in every single way, in my opinion. The actors in this may not be as professional as the ones in the Tim Burton version, but they did a good job, and this movie is a classic that has lasted throughout the years, whereas the Johnny Depp version is a fart in the wind that deserves to be forgotten. The performance by Jack Albertson as Grandpa Joe was hilarious. Just watching him in the background sometimes, he's very into his performance and clearly having the time of his life. Peter Ostrom as Charlie does a great job as well. I could pop in this movie anytime and simply watch it, or just let it play in the background as some noise. Or I can sit with my wife and get lost for an hour and a half. Gene Wilder plays a very zany character that says some of the most off-wall things at random times. It turns out that as a kid, most of what he said went over my head. His dry, sarcastic humor definitely didn't land when I was young, and it makes me crack up now. So what did you think of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? Let me know in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time here in the Twisted Nightmare Studio.